Hi everyone. So today's lesson is going to go a little further with the lesson that you guys watched on Edpuzzle before. And it was just an intro to special right triangles. And today we're going to do a little bit more practice and get into some more difficult problems. So just to review, we've got two types of special right triangles. The first one is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. This is an isosceles right triangle, and you can see that by having two congruent sides, they're going to be both the same value. And then our hypotenuse is going to be whatever the leg was times the square root of 2. In our 30, 60, 90 triangle, the shortest side is going to be across from the smallest angle, which is 30 degrees. That's going to be a length of s or x or whatever variable you want to call it. And then our hypotenuse is double whatever our shortest side was. And then our side across from the 60-degree angle is going to be our shortest side times the square root of 3. So these two are like our templates per se. So everything just follows this order. It's going to be the exact same technique for every single one of these problems that we do today. So we have some steps here for you, 3 simple steps to follow along. And that's just the procedure that we're going to go through with every single one of these problems. So your first step is going to be to label all of your sides using these templates. So for the easier problems, you might think it's redundant and not necessary, but it really does come in handy for the harder problems. And then afterwards, you want to solve for x. You want to solve for x or whatever your variable is. In my template, it's s. And then once you have that, fill in the rest of your sides to figure out what the rest of your sides are supposed to be. So let's do some simple problems first. So in my first example, I've got a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and I know that one of the legs is a length of 14. Now, I want to label my sides using the template. So I know based off the template, my two legs are going to be the same value, and my hypotenuse is s times the square root of 2. So this is s, s, and s times radical 2. Now we want to solve for x, in this case s. And so here I already have my value for s. I know that s is going to equal 14. So I'm just going to put that as like a little thought bubble. And now, once I know that, I can plug everything else in. So this is going to be 14 as well. And then this, when we substitute, we're doing 14 times the square root of 2. And that's it. So for our next one, now we're given a hypotenuse instead. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to label it with my template again, s, s, s radical 2. And now you can see that because we're given the hypotenuse, we're given a different value, and it looks different because it has a radical in it. But all you have to see is that because this 9 radical 2 is equal to s radical 2, you can essentially get rid of the radical 2's, and s is going to equal 9 in this case. So now I'm just going to plug that back in, and I know that my side length here is 9, and my side length here is 9. So those are two simple problems. We're going to go into a medium problem now, medium difficulty. So here we've got another 45, 45, 90 problem. I'm going to label my sides with the template. And we're trying to do different orientations too so that you always recognize which side goes where. And now, here, I know this piece right here, that s is equal to 5 radical 2. So I know it looks a little weird, but this is still technically a number. And so now I know that this is also going to be 5 radical 2 because these two sides here are congruent to each other. And now this one here, segment GJ, that's going to be the one that's a little different because my S value, I know that this, I'm going to do the work over here. So S radical 2, I know based off of this right here that S is 5 radical 2, but then we still want to multiply it by radical 2. And you watched in Miss Giuliani's lesson on Edpuzzle before about radicals that when you have two radicals, you want to just multiply the numbers underneath. So this becomes 5 times the square root of 4, which turns into 5 times 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. And that one little trick that Miss Giuliani taught you was that whenever you multiply the same radical times itself, it essentially gets rid of the radical. So then 5 times 2 is 10, which means this whole side is 10. Okay, now let's get into one of the harder ones. So again, another 45, 45, 90 triangle. So here we go. We got to solve for s. So I'm going to set that equal to s radical 2. So I'm going to do the work over here. S radical 2 equals 8. I just wrote it backwards here. I want to solve for s. So here, it's the same idea as though this were a number. This is a variable. You want to get the variable on its own. So you would divide both sides by the square root of 2 to cancel that out. So s is equal to 8 over radical 2. And some of you who paid attention to the other Edpuzzle on rationalizing might notice that this is a big no-no. We are not allowed to have this. Not allowed. Because it is not simplified. And so in order to do that, to get rid of it, we want to multiply both top and bottom by the square root of 2. That's because our denominator was square root of 2. And that turns into 8 times the square root of 2. And then square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4, which is just 2. And then you want to reduce this as much as you can. So I have the 8 and 2. That can reduce to 4 radical 2. So that essentially is what s is equal to. So that's why this is a hard problem, because it requires a lot of work beforehand. So our s is 4 radical 2. So now we know that this side, the hypotenuse, is 8. And then here our legs are going to be 4 radical 2 and 4 radical 2. Okay? So now moving on to 30, 60, 90 triangles. So we've got, again, two easy ones to start off. So actually, let's go back to the template. So across from the 30 degrees, we've got the shortest side is S. Across from the 90 degrees is double that. And across from 60 is S times the square root of 3. So I am going to redraw that quickly for us here, just so that we don't have to keep referencing up to the top in case you guys don't remember this. So across from 30 we have S, across from hypotenuse is 2S, and across from 60 is s radical 3. Okay, so now let's go back to our colors. So we want to label this with the template. So this is going to be s radical 3, and 2s. So in this one, we are already told what our s value is right here. So that means s is equal to 19. And we just want to plug it back in. So easiest one to do next is hypotenuse. 2 times 19 is going to give us 38. So that was 2 times 19. And then for our other leg, it's 19 times the square root of 3. For example 6, another easy one. Again, label with the template, 2s. Now, across from 60, s radical 3, across from 30 is just s. So now we're given the hypotenuse. So 2s is going to be 46. So that means just s would equal 23. And then you can just plug it back in. So this is 23 radical 3, and this is just 23. Okay? So now moving on to a medium problem. Going to start off with my template. Across from 30 is s, hypotenuse is 2s, and then s radical 3. And so here we have this piece of information. So this is like our 45, 45, 90 problem, like our medium one. So essentially we have the same situation. We can get rid of the square roots. So s is going to equal 9 here. So I can plug that back in, which means my other leg is 9, and my hypotenuse is 18. All right, last one. This one's going to be a fun one. Some of you probably think I'm crazy right now. Okay, so across from 30, s, across from across from 90 is the hypotenuse, which is 2s, and then across from 60 is s radical 3. So, like some of you may have seen, fun one, s radical 3 equals 9. Solve for s, which means we gotta divide both sides by radical 3 to get s alone. And oh no, it's our bad one. We're not allowed to have that because we need to rationalize. All right, so we're going to, where's my purple? Multiply both top and bottom by the denominator. So this turns into 9 times the square root of 3. And then square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which is just a 3. And then we can see that that part simplifies. 9 divided by 3 is just 3 times the square root of 3. So again, this is the value for s. So that's 3 radical 3. And now we want to plug back in. So across from 30 degrees is s. So that means this side. Oh, that's not what I meant. So this side is 3 radical 3. And then my hypotenuse is double that. So 2 times 3 radical 3. Here, Miss Giuliani told us that we want to multiply the numbers in front. So this turns into 6 radical 3. And that is it. So hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, please let us know.